Bob Menendez and his wife indicted today on bribery and corruption charges, along with a group of 3 New Jersey businessmen.
And national correspondent Mike Carter has more on what this indictment says. Mike.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez and his wife Nadine are being charged with accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in exchange for the senator's power and influence. This, according to a newly unsealed federal indictment on Friday. Prosecutors are charging Menendez with 3 alleged crimes, including being on the receiving end of a bribery conspiracy with his wife and 3 people described as New Jersey associates and businessmen. The alleged bribes to Menendez in exchange for the senator's power and influence include gold bars, cash, home mortgage payments, a luxury vehicle, and an apartment.
We explain in the indictment there are things that Senator Menendez says he can do for his constituents and things that he says he cannot do for his constituents. He put it all on his Senate website. It says he cannot compel an agency to act in someone's favor. He cannot influence matters involving a private business. It says he cannot get involved in criminal matters or cases. But we allege that behind the scenes, Senator Menendez was doing those things for certain people, the people who were bribing him and his wife.
Searches of Menendez's home and safe deposit box conducted by federal agents in 2022 turned up nearly $500,000 in cash, much of it stuffed inside envelopes, inside jackets, emblazoned with Menendez's name. This is the second set of corruption charges levied against Menendez by the DOJ in a decade. In 2015, he was acquitted by a judge after a mistrial on charges of conspiracy, bribery, and honest services fraud related to alleged personal favors. Bob Menendez has been in the Senate since 2006. He's up for re-election next year. The Senate Democratic Caucus rules stipulate that Menendez will now be forced to step aside as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. As inside the indictment, it's alleged that Menendez used his power and influence to benefit the country of Egypt. It remains to be seen whether Menendez will still serve on the Foreign Relations Committee panel. Bob Menendez has adamantly denied any wrongdoing when it comes to these bribery charges, telling CNN back in April, quote, "This inquiry will end up, I believe, in absolutely nothing." In New York, for Newsmax, I'm Mike Carter.
All right, Mike Carter, great report there. And joining us now to discuss, former New Jersey Superior Court Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, always great to have you on our show, especially on a Friday afternoon. Your reaction to these Bob Menendez charges, again, as Mike Carter pointed out, the second time in a decade. The last one resulted in a hung jury, and of course, the charges were dropped. This time around, what do you think?
Well, the indictment, which is 39 pages long, is laden with an extraordinary amount of evidence. If the government can prove 25 or 30% of what's in that indictment, Senator Menendez will be convicted. I don't know how he could possibly justify or explain the receipt of what the government claims he received, which is in excess of $500,000 in cash, in gold bars, in mortgage payments, and in payments on a Mercedes-Benz automobile. He is, or was until this morning, about the 4th or 5th most powerful person in the United States Senate. He's possessed of a top secret security clearance. He knows the secrets of the United States and receives regular intelligence reports. It is alleged that he shared some of this stuff with officials in Egypt who were not entitled to it and was bribed by their American counterparts here in New Jersey.
Now, Judge, last time we went through this with Mr. Menendez, Jack Smith was the prosecutor, and it resulted in a hung jury. What do you think, what is different this time around with this prosecution?
It'd be hard for me to believe that the feds would lose 2 of these, Tom. I mean, the allegations are that this bribery scheme began as soon as the other case against him was dismissed because of the hung jury. So the jury is hung. They can't come to a decision about guilty or not guilty. The judge looks at everything and said, mistrial. The DOJ, the attorney general at the time was Jeff Sessions, former President Trump's first attorney general. He said, we're not going to go through this again. We're going to drop the case. The prosecutors in New York, even though most of these events occurred in New Jersey, They implicate federal
Right.
prosecutors in New York. That's why the case is in New Jersey. That's why the case is in Manhattan. The prosecutors in New York say the bribery scheme began almost immediately
Wow.
after the first case against him was thrown out. He's the first senator in U.S. history to be indicted twice for bribery.
Wow.
That's amazing. Wow. Judge, I wish we had more time with you. But again, we will be watching this very, very closely this time. Again, the second time around. Really appreciate your being with us. Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Pleasure, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.